Hi, welcome to my channel Automation with Naveen. Today we are going to see uh, an issue that some of you might have faced while selecting items from the drop down, or what you would call a combo box. So let me first show you what the issue is about. So let me create a new sequence. Okay, so basically we are trying to open a browser and application. We're trying to see what the issue is, this one. And what we're trying to do is we are trying to get all these items using select item, right? A simple drop down. So let's see what issue we'll face. Okay, so that's the browser. Next, I have the activity called select item, and when I indicate the element, it gives me an error message saying the indicated target is not a valid UI element for the selected item. Okay, so it is not recognizing this UI element as a drop down. So let me close this. In this scenario, how are we going to get all these items in the drop down for selection? So one of the solutions is that we can ask the user to key in this value. So let's say he wants to key in 75,000. So 75,000. Another, let's say 100,000. 100,000, right. Sometimes they may not they they may not know how many zeros are there, and lots of other issues. There could be errors in the typing, and basically leaving it to the user can make this process erroneous. So let's see what is the alternate approach, how we can solve this. Okay, so for this purpose, what we can do is we can use the method of screen scraping. So let me show you that. So pause it for a minute and reload it. Okay, so right, so now the screen scraping wizard shows up, right? And we see that the scraping method is native. So if we give full text and give a refresh, you can see that the hidden attributes are also getting displayed, right? So the idea would be now to transform these values that you see into an input that the user can select. So one thing you see here that this we do not require these headings minimum price and another minimum price, right? We need to remove it. Also, you would see there are lots of empty spaces at the top, at the bottom. So we need to trim that. And there are also plenty of white spaces between each value here. So we need to take care of that also. Okay, so let's see how to take care of this. Okay, so we have the text here. Let me give a variable name to that. I will call it minimum price data. And let me also change the scope of that so it's accessible from anywhere. Okay, so we got the data. Now, next, we have to remove the unnecessary parts. Okay, so let's do that. So let me just copy paste this. This is the exercise that I already finished, and I'm just using the same for demo purpose. Okay, so I have pasted an assign activity here. Let's go and check what does it do. Okay, so what does it do? Like I explained, it will replace the minimum price value that we don't need with nothing. It's empty, and it will also trim the leading and trailing blank spaces. All right. Okay. And then I am using a regular expression activity known as rejects, or I'm sorry, replace. Now let's go and check inside that what we have done here. So basically this rejects is about replacing all the white spaces with something. So let me give you an example. Let's say the first number is 0 and followed by a couple of white spaces followed by 25,000, right? So you can see here that the white space is highlighted. That means this expression has identified this is the white space, right? So we are good till here. Okay, so now we have the minimum price data, and how we are replacing it with? We are replacing with a semicolon. We will get to that why we are replacing the white spaces with a semicolon. Okay, so let's print this value and see whether we are successful till now. So what I will do is I'll keep a debug point here, and we can debug this file. Okay, so if you see that it has extracted the value from win price, if you have seen the highlighted item. Now let's check what's inside the in price data. So like we saw earlier, it's got so much of white space and this extra data as well. Now let's go one by one. Okay, so we expect the min price to have been replaced, and also the leading and trailing blank spaces to be trimmed after this step. So right, so this is what we expected, right? And it's got 55 items in prices removed and extra spaces are also. But however, if you see, there is a new line, and also this is a new line. I'm sorry, there's a new line as a tab between these items. We want to remove that as well. So for that, we are going to use the regex. So right, so let's see what it looks like now. All right, so now every white space is replaced as per the regex with a semicolon, right? And like I said that there are two white spaces, slash n and slash t. So we have two semicolons between each of them. So we have two semicolons. Now let's print it. All right, so that's what we printed here, and we got this. The next step, I will tell you why we are doing this. So once we are done that, let's get this dialog box here. Right. So this is an input dialog, and uh, it behaves in different ways depending on the number of items it contains basically. So if the number of items, so we have to look at this value here. So this is called an option string, okay? And if it contains only one item, it behaves like a text box. If there are two or three, it becomes like a radio button. If it has more than three items, it behaves like a combo box or select box. So we have to input our string uh, where item in the each item is separated by a semicolon, right? Like we like this mentions here. Options are separated by semicolon, right? So if you remember, our data that previously has two semicolons, so we have to replace it with one semicolon here. And now this string would have the entire set of uh, items with a separate by semicolon, right? Okay, so let's create another variable that will contain this data. Okay, right. Now let's run this workflow. So right. So now we have an input dialog box, and if you see, all the results have been extracted by screen scraping. We have performed some transformations on the values and using regex and some string replacement, and finally use the dialog box, right? And let's now click something and press OK. So we are good till now. Now, what's the end result? So let's say, for example, somebody wants to find out houses with a minimum price of that starts with like say 150. So what he would do? He would come here and he would open this and click it, right? That's what he would do. So, or he would directly type here. Okay, so any of these things would work. Okay, let's just close it and open it fresh. Okay, now we have the value here. Now let's click the UI element, validate it. Okay, and next, finally, we're going to use the type into activity. We're going to type it here. Right, and what's the value we're going to type? The selected min price. And also we're going to give an enter after that and a small delay. Okay. Okay, now let's check whether our workflow is working. You can see here the house prices are listed of different values, so 399 and all that. Right. So let's check for values of houses above 600. Right. So you see here uh, house count has decreased. So the filtering has actually happened. So right. So this is what I wanted to show you guys, that if you have an issue with selecting an item, what is the workaround for that? Okay, I hope you liked my video, and feel free to post any comments, like whether you understood understood it, or if you have any clarifications. I'll be happy to uh, answer any questions. Thank you.